Welcome to the Gaming Pulpit, and this is your host, Josh. It's just plain and simply put. I don't have anything else, so no other aliases to go by, honestly. But I want to kick this off with just basically telling you that it's going to be an unorthodox video. I've been wanting to do a two videos essentially. One talking about something that's not really gaming related, but it has something to do with the Spider-Man universe or Spider-Verse that Sony was actually trying to do, and it just kind of ties into the Venom movie that I just seen. So I definitely want to kind of give like a review for that particular movie. Something I'm not going to normally do, but I figured I want to put that out there. So we're going to be definitely talking about that. We're going to be talking about the new device, the new Switch possibly that's going to be released in 2019. There's also talks about PS5 and its backwards compatibility for the whole history of the home consoles for Sony, PS1, 2, 3, and 4, and how what that's going to do or how that's going to look, and what implications that's going to have. And then something I talked about a while ago. It had to be like maybe about like the 10th episode of the Gaming Pulpit. And basically, yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about. What I was going to say basically is for, Killzone. I mentioned this before. I almost forgot this fucking say because I'm so anxious to talk about the Venom movie. So what I was saying before about Killzone, I was hoping that they do like a reboot. I was really, really praying for that. I really do like the Killzone series, but I feel like now that they got writers and stuff like that, now they can take it a little bit more seriously. They could definitely do a reboot for that particular game. But they supposedly hired some renowned developers, which I'll get into. But let's get this shit kicked off. I know it's taken 2 minutes just to basically tell you how the video is going to go, but I figured I'd just set the ground for that. And let's talk about the review for Venom. Let's talk about the Venom movie. And first of all, I want to say that I would give it a 7 out of 10. I'm not going to pretend like I know how to rate movies and things like that, but to be honest with you, it doesn't even make a difference because you never know who's being paid off. In particular, you never know, because the reviews are so bad for Venom. It's like, is this really what you think, or are you getting paid for this shit? Like, you getting paid to give it a bad review. And I've just been, looking on the internet and seeing a whole bunch of fans, just different YouTube channels that blast Sony in terms of the movies. Now it's inexcusable for the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 movies. They were hot garbage. They were terrible movies. I hated the casting for all of them. I hated what they did to Spider-Man. I hated the suit. And I'm glad that they rebooted it. I'm glad that they rebooted it for the MCU. But I will say this: the MCU didn't do any better. But I'm jumping subjects here. So essentially, the movie is a 7 out of 10. And the reason why it's a 7 out of 10 is that, for one, you can clearly see that there's a lot of shit missing in this movie, and you can see like scenes were actually stitched together. Like for instance, I'm not saying that this is just for an example. You ever see one of those movies where it's like, it's the same shot of a scene, just one scene, and they'll switch the camera back and forth between each character, and they have to make sure that everything pretty much looks the same, like props wise. And let's just say it switched to the guy, but yet they're at a table, and then like the salt shakers in one place, and they switch to the girls in another place, and it's back and forth, shit like that. You can clearly tell like that happens a lot in the movie. It does, and I believe Tom Hardy, excuse me, basically stated that there was like 40 minutes cut out the movie that he really did like. And I didn't think it was going to make that much of a difference. I thought they were just cutting it out just because it's, they wanted to make it PG-13. That's not true. It was just everything. This movie was trimmed down. You can clearly tell. And there was some YouTube, channels that were basically stating that, Sony didn't have faith. And I don't blame them. I will say this because, for starters, they didn't have faith in the movie because it was so against the lore of it. You know what I mean? Like it was just so different. They tried something new, and believe it or not, I think that it works. I mean, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and it's just, to me, I think that it really, really, really works. But anyway, let's talk about the beginning of the movie. So the beginning of the movie starts off as seemingly some sort of almost like a sci-fi horror movie. I mean, I'm pretty sure you've seen this. This is, by the way, there's no spoilers to it, so I just want to tell you about that. But it seemed to be like a horror movie almost. So you got a lot of shit that wasn't very funny. It wasn't very family oriented. It was just very dark in the beginning. And then you get to later in the movie, because I'm not gonna sit there and say acts, because I feel like it's super pretentious for somebody to say that there's 3 acts in the movie and they deviated from acts. You know what I mean? The first acts. I mean, I heard people say that shit too. It's like, you're not even a fucking critic, yo. Get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? There's also people that are saying, it's garbage. It's garbage. And just real like hyperbole. There's a lot of hyperbole with the movie and just critics and shit like that. And I feel like a lot of people parrot that a lot, and I know I'm all over the place, and I apologize. So let me stick to what I want to say. So anyway, the movie moves from horror to like a standard superhero, the shit that you would see in the MCU universe and stuff like that. It was very loose plot, building and character building and stuff like that. It wasn't very good. There's a lot of issues with the script as well. Be that it's stitched together, and that it's just not a good script. It's not a good script. There's a lot of like weird motivations for each character, and just didn't make any sense. But I believe that the movie honestly didn't want to take itself seriously. I know a lot of people were saying that, but it didn't. You can clearly tell, like the wailing scream, that should be indicative enough. That should be indicative of what type of tone that they were going for, and I'm kind of glad that they showed that for the last couple of trailers to get people kind of like hyped for the movie. I mean, people really suspect. I feel like a lot of it, there's 2 problems with it, in terms of the movie, but I'll get into that later. So anyway, he goes into the whole like love interest and kind of like little shitty plot motivations that moves the story. And then you finally get to see Venom, and then that's when the story fucking shines. It's very weird because when Venom appears, he never comes off as being like, you know what I mean? Like he never comes off as being, scary when it came to Eddie Brock. It was just he was almost like a pet. Almost, it was adorable actually. It was very, I don't know how to put it. Like I want a Venom basically. That's all I was thinking about. I was like, that'll be so fucking cool to have. Despite that he's fucking, and he definitely some R-esque stuff going on with the story. So he's doing shit that the MCU would never do. They will never attempt to do some shit like that, and that's kind of why I don't want. You know what I mean? I don't want the MCU to handle this because Deadpool would never exist in the MCU under Disney and shit like that. It just wouldn't. Disney would never allow for shit like that. Either way, so you go over there, you have the whole Venom thing, and from this point on, it becomes like a really dark comedy that doesn't take itself seriously at all. And Tom Hardy really, really like sold the fucking. He basically, it was just crazy how he drives the movie. Like it was definitely his movie, and there's a lot of potential for the future. Like I said before, the problems were like there was some script issues. character motivation issues and stuff like that. I feel like it was just a lot of hands in the same in the pot. But you can actually have some dark elements and still manage to pull off a really decent, you know what I mean, like storyline that's still funny, but it still has comedic elements. So that's definitely like a possibility. It really is. You look at this game, for instance, there's a lot of dark shit that was like, did they really do this shit? Really? You know what I mean? But the game is still funny, you know what I mean, for the Spider-Man that you see here. So you can pull it off for sure. You definitely can pull it off. It's just that, I just feel like it was just such a different, you know what I mean? It was just such a different type of movie. People were saying the movie was weird. I don't feel like it was weird. I feel like it was pretty standard comic book hero stuff. To me, it was definitely, I enjoyed it honestly better than, Infinity War. And I will say this too. For the ending, I will say this. This is not like a total official review. It's just kind of like it's a review, but it's like my thoughts on it. I will say that the ending was really bad. It was just stitched the fuck together just to make it an ending. Obviously the climax, not necessarily an ending, but the climax of it. And it's just like, man, they didn't do a good job with that one at all. It just wasn't that great. So that being said, you know what I mean? Like overall, even with all of those flaws, it still managed in my book. And I don't like watching movies. I don't like, seeing movies. I don't. There's special occasions where I will go see a movie. And there's a lot of people that are like really jumping on board with this movie regardless of the reviews. And I'm glad, because I don't like the MCU. I feel like they destroyed Spider-Man. I don't like that version of Spider-Man. I don't think it's that good either. But then you have people that claim that they're critics, will say that movie is great, but then, Venom is garbage. And it's like, it's not too much of a fucking difference in terms of storyline. For instance, like, I will say like the Infinity War. You have this alien Titan that is evil. And all of a sudden, they try to make him a good guy to some degree. Like he's gray on a morale meter, because he suffers some time. And it's just like, this dude was dark in the comics. You know what I'm saying? And they just can't do that. Disney will refuse to do like really dark, R-rated shit. They're not going to do it. You know what I mean? And I feel like just because of that, I don't want them handling a lot of things, especially Spider-Man. I really love that character. You know what I'm saying? I don't want them touching that shit. And they ruined it. I mean, it got a lot of movies. And he made his little cameo. And I guess that's pretty cool and stuff like that for the MCU. But I never really liked the MCU universe either. I think Iron Man was one movie that I liked. And that was it. The rest of the movies were typical, like trying to make it funny and shit like that. Really, the superhero movies that I do like are Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. Those are the only real ones. And now Venom. Honestly, it's a pretty good movie. It is. It gets bashed because it's cool to bash it, but then I feel like even with all the social media and echo chambers and stuff like that, it still pulled its own and kind of showed. It's a bright future for what they're going to do. I mean, people say that Venom should have been rated R. It could have been rated R. It does a lot of things. Like, it could have had a lot of Deadpool-esque stuff. You know what I mean? Violence and stuff like that. But it still holds its own. I totally get it. So I wasn't really mad about that. But honestly, it's, it would have never been able to be accomplished in the MCU in this particular way. They do too much stupid shit. Anyway. I'll probably elaborate on that in another video as well, in terms of what I can't stand about the MCU. And hopefully, like I said before, I'm glad that supposedly it did really well. So I'm super glad about it doing well, because it totally deserved it. So anyway, I will say this. So let's talk about the other things. These are really short. So for starters, Nintendo is going to have another console. You know what I mean, like a refresh to some degree, supposedly in 2019. And honestly, my takes on it, I don't like. I feel like the Switch was even. It was honestly, is almost like a fluke. You know, it was a popular thing that, you know, the echo chambers once again on the internet. Everybody said it was pretty cool to take with you because essentially the Vita did the same things. And yes, it had Zelda. It was being driven by Zelda, honestly. And, you know, I don't know if a second device that's going to be more powerful is going to really do anything. I don't think it is. I don't. So sue me. But I don't think it's going to do well. I don't. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is the backwards compatibility for like the PS5. If they manage to do backwards compatibility for the whole line of home consoles for PlayStation, oh man, that'd be fucking awesome. But I think it's really driven by PlayStation Now. Honestly, I feel like they're not gonna, you know, and this will be motivation for developers and, you know, to renew their licenses for these particular games so we can have more. Because backwards compatibility is a lot of legal shit that's in the background. You just can't pop in a disc when you have a new platform, unless you have the same hardware in there. And if you're running emulation, you have to renegotiate the licenses. It's not easy. So this will give them be more comfortable with this shit, and it's probably most likely going to be tied to the PlayStation Now. Like you may be able to use your old PlayStation 3 games for PlayStation 2. If they manage to get the PlayStation 3 to work, it's probably going to be like a lot of Xbox One X games that, you know, is going through emulation, or Xbox 360 game that goes through emulation through Xbox One. I definitely don't believe that it's going to be one of those things where you can honestly, like, you know, it's just not. It's not. You know what I mean? Like, they want to make money. That's just what it sucks, because I do have some PS2 games on there, and they want to make money. The PS3 games, if they decide to make that shit happen, it's difficult to emulate PlayStation 3 games. It's difficult. I don't think it's gonna be possible. And that's how I feel about it. Once again, like I said, I'll make a future video about what I'm just gonna do, like a part 2 to this. Honestly, now that I think about it, it's just 20 minutes was just not long enough. Like the music even stopped and everything like that. But so you gotta excuse that. Actually, no, I can extend that. Come to think about it, and I'll do that. I'll extend it. I forgot all about that. This is not the same thing. Anyway. The last thing I wanted to talk about is Guerrilla Games. Guerrilla Games, they are hiring people from Rainbow Six Siege for like multiplayer shit for some reason. So they're pretty serious with the multiplayer. The Siege guys, you know what I mean. So I doubt that it's it's a Horizon Zero Dawn situation. I don't think that is at all. So, you know, honestly, I think that they are really going to reboot Killzone. And if they manage to reboot Killzone, I'll be a happy fucking camper, because I love the lore in that game. I love how dark it is. I love the graphics and shit. It's awesome. It's awesome. So all my little dreams are coming true. If they manage to do this shit for PS5, oh man, that'd be awesome. But we'll see. But anyway, stay tuned for my part 2 of this, because I'm gonna actually have, because I needed to put a video out, but I'm definitely gonna have like some, you know, more in depth on these particular subjects again, probably sometime this week. But let me know in the comments what you liked about the video, if you disliked it, or if you liked it or anything like that. And if you did like it, a sub would be appreciated. Auf Wiedersehen.